with land development, a lot of people will say, oh, you've held that land for 10 years now. You paid $50,000 for it. It's now worth $1 million or $2 million or $3 million. You're very lucky. Well, luck is a function of intent. So, and what land bankers generally do, like us, is that we buy land, raw land, farms, etc. And sometimes it might only just be a small acreage block somewhere in suburban Melbourne where we see the potential growth on it. So there's an old Italian saying that says, he who holds the land holds the keys. Now that's true because then you've got multiple options with it. But if you are in investment mode and you have equity from someone bequeathing you money, or you've made money in your own business, what is very good to do is to have a look at the market spread, have a look at where you believe all the infrastructure and federal and state funding will be spent, have a look at the road system, and then you can take a really good educated gamble on buying land to hold. And there is no doubt, they always say, and it's a very, very common saying, God doesn't make any more land. That's true. But the reality of that is that we are going to have an increased height limit running across the suburbs in all states. But buying acreage on the perimeters of the city fringe areas is going to be the new black, in my opinion, over the next 12 to 18 months. When Dick Hamer was Premier here in Victoria, and I was only a little guy then, I remember my dad saying that he put in a lot of green wedge land in through Melbourne. Now, a lot of agents will try and sell you green wedge land, and sometimes it's up a conductor west. It's actually nowhere, and it probably will never have any hope of being anything other than green wedge. But some small amounts of green wedge land have turned into that. What I'm talking about is, say, for instance, if you have a look at the spread from here to southeast going down to Gippsland, the areas that have biblically grown, like the Druins, and those areas, and Garfield and coming back through that way, those areas, going back 15 years ago, we looked at them intently, and one of the mistakes that we made is we never bought in Druin. We bought all around there, but I couldn't believe in my heart that people would buy a block on a slant like that. Wow, was I wrong, right? Now, Warragul's a great place, but Druin, as far as taking off, that quaint little town with a lovely group of shops that is undulating like this everywhere, has just gone crazy. And people love that country village lifestyle. Like there's a real thing with that now, no different to that development that we did in Trafalgar. When we bought Trafalgar had a population of probably about 2,000 people. There was already a subdivision that had just got released, and then we released ours. In the first year in Trafalgar, we sold 147 blocks in the first year. So therefore, that town now has got over 5,000 people in it, right? So sometimes, as my wife says, if you build it, they would come, Michael. So, and that it already had reasonably good infrastructure, not great, but reasonably good, and a good range of shops. Now it's got a really good pub, really good restaurants, and all that. And people, they still go for their services to Warragul, or back to Morwell, or back to Terrelgan. But that quaint little town, people are moving to that. And more so now after the COVID, what I call, we're in the COVID overhang or lag now. People are looking for that better lifestyle that's cheaper, and they're cashing in a little bit. So they can get the same standard of living at much cheaper value. So people are doing that. And that's why I think buying land and holding land on the perimeters of the Melbourne fringe, Adelaide fringe, Sydney fringe is going to be really, really important, because definitely more people are going to move out of there. And even with the migration numbers, they've been adjusted slightly by the federal government. But it's going to be really hard to get into Australia now without a degree, right? Nearly impossible. It's going to be harder to get into Australia without any cash, because they want you to spend something on a property straight away. Now that we've got some of those parameters set in place, it's actually going to be much better for our economy. But the interesting part about migration is this, is out of the people that get allocated regionally and they're funded by the government to go regional, there's a certain amount, and I can't remember the exact percentage, but there's a very large amount that go regional, like doctors, etc., radiologists. But half of those people that their original posting out in regional areas never leave the first regional area they get posted to. Amazing stat. What does that tell you? That they end up forming another community in a brand new country really quickly, right? And that's what's making those regional areas, that's just another tick in the box, making them strong.